Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something seriously fascinating and honestly highly complex drawn straight from our research. We're looking at the hidden sociological and, well, technological architectures of modern power. So we're going to put on our investigative hats and neutrally examine some incredibly bold claims about how a completely new kind of ruling class is allegedly being built right under our noses. From secret societies to centralized databases, we're tracing the exact blueprint of what the data describes as an emerging oligarchic cult.
I want you to start by asking yourself this central question. What actually happens to a society when the people at the very top, the elite, decide to just permanently close their ranks? What happens when a fluid, merit-based system calcifies and the powerful just completely pull up the ladder behind them? Keep that in the back of your mind as we go, because it really sets the stage for the central mystery we're unraveling today.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The leaked data highlights some absolutely sensational evidence regarding a group called Dialogue. According to the reports, this is a secret, invitation-only society founded by tech billionaire Peter Thiel back in 2006. And the leaked roster? It's staggering. It reportedly includes a sitting Treasury Secretary, senators, and top-tier military and intelligence officials. The data even details that this society functions as sort of a quasi-matchmaking service, complete with its own private app. I mean, we're looking at a highly coordinated, completely private gathering of literally some of the most powerful people on the planet.
Section 1. Mapping the network. Epstein, Palantir, and power.
Now, Dialogue isn't just operating in a vacuum. The research outlines a very specific, interconnected web of influence here. So beyond Dialogue acting as this exclusive club, we have Palantir. That's the massive data analytics company co-founded by Thiel, which aggregates global identities into centralized databases. We're also seeing deep political ties, with the materials pointing to Thiel's mentorship actually orchestrating the political rise of figures like J.D. Vance. And perhaps most remarkably, the documents impartially report on communications between Peter Thiel and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. This includes discussions about representing the Rothschilds and Epstein actively advising former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak to invest in Palantir. When you map it all out, the concentration of interconnected power here is just undeniable.
Section 2. Asymmetric stratification. The sociological threat.
So, we see the network on the surface, right? But moving deeper down the iceberg, how is this specific consolidation of power actually analyzed by sociologists? Why is this considered a structural threat to society? To understand that, we turn to a sociological concept called asymmetric stratification. I know, it's a bit of academic jargon, but the core idea is brilliant. It describes a paradox where the elite successfully calcify into this closed, hereditary fortress. They basically get to operate completely anonymously as the default universal norm. But meanwhile, all the institutional mechanisms and automated systems force the lower tiers of society to remain hypervisible, constantly tracked and permanently tagged by their origins just to access basic resources.
The divide here is incredibly stark. On one side, the elite enjoy the ultimate luxury of being completely unmarked. They get to claim their success is due entirely to casteless individual merit, just moving anonymously through the world. On the exact opposite side, the lower classes, what sociology often refers to as the subaltern, are treated as marked demographics. They're hypervisible, they're tightly tracked by systems like Palantir, and they are forced to politically mobilize using their specific identities just to survive.
Sociologist Satish Deshpande really hits the nail on the head regarding how elites pull off this illusion. He notes that upper caste identity can be completely overwritten by modern professional identities of choice, whereas lower caste identity is so indelibly engraved that it overwrites all other identities. Essentially, the elite successfully launder their inherited advantages, their networks, their wealth, their secret societies, into modern capital, like fancy tech degrees or professional titles. They hide behind this sort of invisibility cloak of professional achievement, presenting their structural dominance as pure objective merit.
Section 3. Interface inversion. The technological threat.
Now, this brings us to a massive pivot, because this sociological calcification we've been talking about, this closing of the elite ranks, is actually perfectly mirrored by modern computer science architecture. Let's transition to the digital realm for a second. The data points to a reality that will probably completely change how you look at your phone. The technology we use every single day isn't just neutral. It's actively being designed to enclose human agency. The very screens and software we rely on are being structured to perfectly enforce this elite closure.
And they do this through a mechanism called interface inversion. Normally, you think of a computer as a tool you command, right? But interface inversion flips that entirely. Instead of you directly commanding a tool locally, a centralized machine actually intercepts your intent, meters out intelligence like your monthly water bill, and effectively manages you. It turns sovereign individuals into mere digital tenants who are just renting capabilities from an invisible tech monarch.
Notice the technological dichotomy we're looking at. It's decentralized freedom versus digital tenancy. On the Republican compute side, you are a sovereign pilot executing commands on your own local hardware, creating an inalienable record. But over on the royalist cloud side, your data gets sucked up into a centralized tank. You're trapped in digital tenancy, managed by interface inversion, and paying a metered toll to the elite just to exercise your basic right to think and create.
Section 4. The Agentic Kingship and the 1689 Breach.
Let's see how all this builds into a grand, unified theory of modern power by tying the sociological tracking and the technological enclosures directly together. Historical parallels drawn in the research argue that the 21st century great enclosure of cloud AI isn't just some tech upgrade, it is actually a sociological regression. They map it back to historical treaties, calling it a 1689 breach. Just as historical monarchs hoarded absolute power before constitutional rights pushed back, today's tech enclosures are fundamentally stripping away local autonomy, dragging society right back toward a digitized form of feudalism.
Which brings us to the ultimate consequence of this entire network: agentic kingship. The research defines this as the aggressive restoration of unaccountable centralized power. Think about it. When you combine secret elite societies, vast data aggregators, and metered cloud architectures, you end up with a reality where a handful of tech giants act as invisible, completely unaccountable rulers over billions of passive digital tenants.
So, the absolutely crucial takeaway is how all these disparate pieces function together as a single, unified system, a neo-feudal state. First, dialogue and elite networks consolidate the political power at the very top. Next, asymmetric stratification provides the sociological cover, hiding the elite behind the myth of merit while hyper-tracking everyone else. Then, interface inversion provides the technological leash, turning us into digital tenants. And finally, massive systems like Palantir and the centralized cloud act as the impenetrable castle walls protecting this new royal class.
We have covered some incredible ground today, traversing everything from exclusive, secret societies to the invisible architecture of our cloud networks. So I want to leave you with a final, highly provocative thought to consider. If elite privilege in our society is perfectly masked as merit, and the very digital tools we rely on are actively managed by invisible kings, who is actually allowed to succeed? It's really a question of your own digital and social sovereignty. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the architectures around you, and I'll catch you next time.